debt is not a four-letter word. I mean, I know, people like Dave Ramsey are just completely adamant against it. I believe in good debt because good debt allows us to propel ourselves forward. If you have to take on debt in an intelligent way to invest in your education, that's a no-brainer. That makes sense.
Everyone, and welcome into CrushTheStreet.com. I'm Kenneth Amaduri, and it's a pleasure to have on the line today Josh Elledge, who is a man who understands entrepreneurship really like no other. And I feel like people who get to this level can almost be successful in anything they touch. Obviously, being successful in something is very difficult, and I'm sure we can get to that. But it's about that mindset. It's about understanding what it takes to break through. He's a public relations and marketing expert. He's the founder and chief executive angel of SavingsAngel.com. And he's one of the leading experts in consumer saving. And he's syndicated in a newspaper columnist, reaching more than 1.1 million readers. Josh, without any further ado, thanks for coming on the show with me today.
Kenneth, it's awesome to be here. I'm very humbled. That's quite an introduction. I don't know that I know entrepreneurship like no other, but I certainly have my unique take on it.
Well, you got quite the story, and I would love for you to introduce yourself a little more and tell people how you started and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. So, right out of high school, like most entrepreneurs, very entrepreneurial, even throughout my school days, joined the United States Navy for 5 years and was a Navy journalist. And so I had the opportunity to, do video and radio and public relations and quite enjoyed that. Got out of school or got out of the Navy, went to school. I was studying family therapy because I wanted to be a love doctor on the radio. That was my goal. But I got distracted with the whole internet development thing, became an internet developer, which then led to, of course, if you're in that realm, it's very, very easy to get pulled into entrepreneurial activities. So started a number of businesses. Some of them failed spectacularly, including starting a small town newspaper for a couple of years. But eventually led to starting a company called Savings Angel, which I launched over 10 years ago, nearly 10 and a half years ago. And Savings Angel has done pretty well. We have and I think what's really cool and why I get invited to speak quite a bit is that we built that company into generating close to $6 million in revenue, and we have spent less than $500 in advertising. That includes all advertising, like Facebook ads, and we just don't do it. So then you're like asking, well, what did you do? Because we all know exposure is everything. And Kenneth, what we did was PR, and that's all we did. Obviously, if you heard my little background there, you could tell that I have a little bit of experience in working PR or working with journalists and working as a journalist. So rather than just sell with Savings Angel, we just give and serve every audience that we can. And what's really cool is if you help enough people and you give enough value, then people are going to come seek you out and they're going to come asking for more. And I love running business like that. It's just so much more refreshing when the first thought in your mind is not, who am I going to sell to today? But instead, it's who can I give to and what value can I bring? And if you bring enough value to enough people, you know what? You don't have to worry about sales and business. You will have all the money you could possibly handle.
Wow. Well, that's powerful, and I know you teach people about saving, and I love it, and I think it's a skill that not many people have. And I guess I want to ask you this. Obviously, you don't spend a lot on marketing. That's really interesting. But obviously, there's costs to running business and to over-delivery. And I'd love for you to talk about the equilibrium between frugality and over-delivering for your customers and where that converges for entrepreneurs. And like I said, I grew up a compulsive saver, and I was very disciplined when it came to separating my money for savings and giving. And I can tell you that in my experience and in what I've observed in others, you can be so cheap that it's to your detriment. in being in lacking resources to delivering what you want to deliver. So share some thoughts on that if you would.
Yeah, in fact, so Savings Angel, I didn't really, I kind of skipped over this. So Savings Angel is it's a consumer education website. We help people cut their grocery bill in half. We do a lot of education. Again, it's just kind of focused on service. And gosh, I didn't even mention this. In regards to all of our PR success, is that I've done a lot of service. I do a lot of pro bono education, do a lot of pro bono consulting with our local startup scene here in Orlando, and have done a lot of speaking on the subject of PR, and that's actually led to something we'll talk about a little bit later, but that's actually starting an anti-PR firm. But in answer to your question, this is a really important question, because again, I'm Savings Angel. I'm all about frugality. But here's one thing I know about in business is that if you are trying to build a business as cheaply as you possibly can, you are undoubtedly scratching your head saying, I don't get it. Why am I stagnating in business? I know you are, because that's the natural outcome of not making investments in your business. Now, sometimes these investments can be massive effort on your own part, okay? But there's only so much that you can do. If you have a team of 8 to 10 people, and they are all engaged, and you are the leader for those 8 to 10 people, and you're all actively creating this value for audiences, well, guess what's going to happen to your business? You're naturally going to move forward faster, right? If you want to just build a business where you're the only person there, and you're just going to try and learn everything DIY, that's fine, but you're just not going to grow very fast, which is why I believe in being very careful, but hiring mentors. Because again, mentors have generally been down the path a little bit longer than you have. They've perhaps achieved what you want to achieve. And so if you want their results, you need to duplicate their efforts and or learn from them. Good advice from a mentor can mean the difference between you spinning your wheels on something for 4 to 6 months and you avoiding that whole landmine and saying, whoa, no, I'm not going to do that. I do this all the time, Kenneth, when I'm chatting with people and they're coming at me with these business ideas. I'm like, whoa, why on earth would you serve that audience? They don't have any money. Or, you are talking about becoming a generalist. And one thing I know about generalists is you're having to compete with everybody in the world. And you know what? If you're a generalist in what you do, and again, I'm talking the opposite of being very specific and really niching yourself within the industry, you're just not that valuable. If, however, you are perceived to be the one go-to person for one very specific thing, well, you're in a position where you can charge a lot of money for your time. So in my case, I'm the entrepreneur who's been in the media over 1,500 times. I've generated over $6 million in sales, and I can teach you and help you basically how to become a media celebrity. That's pretty specific. Like, I don't have to compete with a whole lot of people for that type of work. So as a result, it's extremely valuable. Now, I probably should charge a lot more for my services, but I believe in changing, and completely disrupting an industry.
Yeah, that's really powerful. One of the things that I've seen with entrepreneurs and people who want to do something in business, and within my own journey, really at the beginning, when we're trying to evolve, is implementing things and having an idea, but then sitting on it and saying, oh, we'll get to that, or when we have the money, or yada, 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 kick that can down the road. And you know what? And then I met people who, when you told them something, they did it. And you see that in their own lives. When they get their own ideas, they implement. And these people are organized. They get things done. And you do a 180 or 360, look back at them, and they're miles down the road in where they wanted to go. And I guess that's also true about people who are so frugal that they're just so bound in their situation. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of spending money. And they don't take steps out. They don't move forward and implement. And I think that's so important in being successful. So any last thoughts on that before we switch gears here?
Look, I'm also, as a consumer guy, I'm obviously at the consumer level. I'm not real big on debt, as you would expect.
Right. I'm not either.
That said, I believe that debt is not a four-letter word. I mean, I know, people like Dave Ramsey are just completely adamant against it. I believe in good debt because good debt allows us to propel ourselves forward. If you have to take on debt in an intelligent way to invest in your education, that's a no-brainer. That makes sense. If you need to take on good debt so that you can do things in business that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do, look, you got to be real careful with that. And I'm not giving you a blank check here to do whatever you want, but you really need to apply a lot of other tests as to whether or not it makes sense for you to acquire debt. But I'm just telling you that if you're really making smart decisions business-wise, debt can be a very, very powerful tool to allow you to do stuff that you would otherwise not be able to do. So just on that topic, it's an interesting differentiation, but it's one that I've really gotten, it's generated a lot of interest for me. And I'm not talking about those payday loans for business places. I'm talking about SBA loans, lines of credit, possibly taking on an equity partner, that sort of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I love watching Shark Tank, and really what they look for are people who've made it successful, and with their added value, they can scale it to the next level, whether it's, needing money to fulfill purchase orders because, look, they got all this demand from this small little test that they did, and hey, we can take this to the next level because we've proved ourselves here, and boom, then now you're taking on, in my opinion, potentially good debt. All right.
Yeah, I think the advantage, everyone's got these, stars in their eyes about bringing on an investor who's going to come with a couple of $1 million. And, I think one of the advantages of preparing for an investor is that you are going to be very, very careful with that money. But that said, you can get an SBA loan for 6.5%, and you don't have to give up equity in your company. And but the downside to that is you don't necessarily have an advisor who's going to be very, who's going to really, he or she's going to crack the whip on you to make sure that you're being real smart about that money. But if you can be real smart with that money, then it's not a bad thing. If you're taking on business debt in order to do awesome stuff.
Josh, I love what you're doing here. What your success is coming from is the internet. And I want to get your thoughts here on how important the internet is and, just to kind of get you going here. I mean, we see Amazon taking huge chunks out of retailers like Sports Alley, Guitar Center, et cetera. What about the PR world? What are you seeing? How important is this?
Listen, PR is absolutely essential, but there is a major, PR works. Okay, it absolutely works. I'm a testament to that. And we work with we've worked historically with hundreds of clients. We've, dozens and dozens of active clients right now that we are absolutely, we're getting them on reality TV shows. We're getting them talked about in all major publications. We're really causing them to become famous and become thought leaders in their space. And thought leaders with products and services tend to do very well business-wise. That's what we really focus on. But that said, listen, it's so critical that you understand that the PR industry is absolutely dysfunctional when it comes to helping startups and entrepreneurs. The PR industry, what most PR practitioners are taught in school is enterprise level PR, which is great if you've got a lot of money to burn and you can invest in a very, very long-term PR strategy. Most of our clients, when they ask for what they want, they're going to get sticker shock. Okay, there's another problem here, is that most startups cannot afford what they say they want or what they say that they need or they, it's really expensive to generate buzz and, create yourself as a household name. It just is. The reason why is because it takes a lot of effort. So how can you save yourself a lot of money, and how can you get similar results? Well, it means that in the early days, if you're saying that, no, Josh, I don't have, $5,000, $8,000, $10,000 a month to blow in PR. Okay, if you're below that, okay, you still need PR. Otherwise, you are not going to you're not going to rise in stature. And I want you to rise in stature. I want you to become famous, because you will make a lot more money when you're famous. So how do you do that? Well, you're going to need to figure out what you can afford to invest and what you're going to need to do yourself. But if you don't do anything, you are going to be stagnant in business. And I don't want that for you either. So what is it? So maybe it's you end up outsourcing 20% of the work and you do 80% of it yourself. It kind of comes down to whatever your budget is. So what doesn't exist in the marketplace, and when you're hiring PR, is this model of a done with you service, which is essentially what we've created. We took a look at what I needed for over a decade in PR, and I've blown, Kenneth, over 25 grand hiring PR agencies, and my results have been lackluster. And that's being generous. Not everyone can blow 25 grand. Okay. It was painful for us to blow that money, and we didn't really get much of anything out of it. That's painful. I don't want that for anybody else. I've talked to startups that, they got $15,000 in seed money, said, well, we really have the product already. So pretty much everything we need is just exposure. So they ended up putting, $12,000 of their $15,000 investment in PR, ended up with next to nothing. And this can happen. There are a lot of good PR people out there, and certainly well-meaning and good intentioned PR people. But again, my clients, the success metric that we want is, I want to see an increase in sales. I want them making money. And if they're not making money, in my opinion, that's not successful PR work. Most PR practitioners, I'm speaking Greek right now to them. They just, to them, you getting potential eyeballs is kind of, or potential ears or readers, that's kind of the metric that they follow.
Right.
For me, I want to make sure my clients are making money.
Josh, yeah, no, that's really good. And I want to actually, in that same vein here, get an idea of what most entrepreneurs are failing at in regards to sales. Why does the average salesperson fail? And I know they're both related, PR, salesmanship, and, we're all salesmen to one degree or another, whether you're an employee or something else. It doesn't matter. You are selling yourself, and as a result of that, you trade your time for money.
Right. Yeah, most certainly. And so I honestly believe that the number one mistake that business owners make, and I'm a devotee of Michael Gerber. So I absolutely firmly believe, through experience, I've seen this, is that everybody's spending all their time, making pies. It's the pie maker who says, everybody compliments me on what an amazing pie maker I am, so I'm going to start a pie making business. And then they spend all their time in the kitchen making their pies. The number one job of a business owner is you need to be growing your business. If you are not growing your business, who is? And so sometimes people get afraid of this, and they say, oh, well, Josh says you should grow your business. And I also, by the way, Kenneth, say that the two best activities in my experience to growing your business is networking with influencers, because influencers can do some pretty amazing stuff for you. I would say number two is serving large audiences, telling your story to large audiences, inspiring, and just giving value to large audiences. You just do those two things, you're going to do pretty well in business, right? So some people say, oh, but I'm too scared to network, and I'm too scared to get in front of a large audience. Most people are not like that, but you have to do the work. And if you try to outsource that to a PR agency, for example, it's going to be incredibly expensive. And here's the thing, it doesn't work as well. PR people, and this is what journalists and influencers know, PR people are paid to sell a story. We know that. I'm a journalist myself. I write a syndicated newspaper column. I do a syndicated TV consumer segment in 75 cities. When I get pitched by a PR person, I know that's their job. And their job is to sell me something in most cases, or tell a story, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. You're selling me something.
Right.
If a startup founder herself reaches out to me and she says, Josh, I love your column. I'm a fan. I really loved what you wrote on this. Listen, I started this company a few months ago. It may or may not be a fit for your audience, but please let me know how I could serve. In fact, this might make a really good segment I'd love to participate in. Love to help out with it. And you have to use this language, right? And this right here, seriously, this is the $1 million tip right here that is going to make you want to share this podcast episode with every business owner you know. Because this is what separates successful risers in business from people who are just stagnating, trying to play the spray and pray numbers game. It doesn't work. You have to use this language. And it really, I've got everyone's attention right now. Write this down. Okay? You need to use these words. I don't need any links back. I don't need any credit. I don't need any kind of promotion. In my mind, I would love to serve. I would love the opportunity to serve your audience. I'm very passionate about this subject. Just words to that effect. And Kenneth, I'm telling you, that makes all the difference in the world. Wow. If you want influencers to reward you, you have to give them the space to do it. If you try to force your demands, like all I ask for is a do follow link on your blog, who the heck are you to make demands of someone you're asking a favor from who has a bigger audience than you, right? You're approaching this conversation. It's like going to a live event, and you start talking with someone and they just go into auto pitch mode. And it's like they're not even talking to you. They're just kind of reciting their pitch. It's like you just want to get away from that person. And so similarly, I don't want you in that position. I want you to evoke gifts from influencers. And if you let them know that you don't need them to promote you, you really just want to be a part of helping them, they're going to reciprocate. They are going to hook you up, but you just gotta let them just trust. Now, once in a while, they won't. But now you've done a favor for them, and just a law of reciprocity. That's good. Like, you want a bunch of influencers to feel like they kind of owe you. And you just got to trust. There have been some big influencers that, I ended up spending, $300-400 in services free of charge to them. And as a result, it led to an invitation to appear in front of their audience. And I gave without any expectation of return. But, again, I know human nature, and they did lead to that invitation, which I was very grateful for.
Josh, your expertise is incredible, and I feel like you're an authority on entrepreneurship. And I appreciate that, because I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur. I've experienced a certain level of success in my life. So much of what you said rang well with me, and I encourage many people to take the words that you said today to heart and implement them on a daily basis. This might be something you want to listen to a couple times a year for that motivation. And if people want to learn more about you, please let them know what they'll find, what you're offering, and how they can reach you.
Yeah, well, we've essentially created the anti-PR firm because I believe in empowerment. I believe in working with our members and treating them like adults. And I also believe in completely transforming and upending an industry. And that is the PR industry. So we created reluctantly, but I have a moral imperative to do this, Kenneth, because I really want to allow other startups and entrepreneurs to have the same success that we have. So we created a service, and it's called upendpr.com. And essentially you have access to the stuff that all the big all the big guys, all the big girls have, but we can provide access and do it better for about 1/4 the cost, which I really, really love. And it's super low risk, so that, there's no contracts or anything like that. But essentially, we will teach you and show you and provide for you all the tools and resources. We've got licenses for some pretty expensive tools that you have been, as a startup owner, have been blocked out from for a long time, or someone has kind of acted as the gatekeeper to these tools. So if you want to become a media celebrity, we can show you exactly how to do that, and we can make that happen for you. And again, that's at upendpr.com, and we would love to help you out with that. A lot of free resources, free videos, free audios, free articles, and then of course, if you want us to help you out, you can take a look at that as well.
Awesome. Well, everyone, get out there, start serving people, start having that mindset of giving. And Josh, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on the show.
Kenneth, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.